I'm here with Alex Garfield, aka the guy that owns two teams in international. Both of them looking pretty good this year. What do you think the chances are?
I don't hold it.
No. I hold the camera and the microphone. You don't have to do anything except answer.
I don't do these very often, I think, as you know.
This is the first time I've gotten you to sit down. I've asked you every single time for a interview, and you've just never done it except now. Why now? What changed?
You're very charming and persistent.
Okay. All right. So I annoyed you until you did this. This is my entire dating life.
Yes. I think you're supposed to actually ask me about like esports businessy stuff, but we can talk about the OkCupid post that you had.
No. We can talk about we can just talk about esports.
It's the most amazing OkCupid profile I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, thank you.
Now
we can go on a date.
You're gonna have to put these. I would totally date you based on that profile.
All right.
We should post a link in the comments.
No. I'm good. We'll leave that one private.
What was your username?
No problem. We'll just talk about esports now. I think that's a good idea.
Dota.
Yeah. You guys gonna win? What if it was an EG Alliance Final? Would you just just freak out or what?
I would retire.
Yeah.
I mean, in a matter of speaking, I think so the reason that I don't do a lot of these interviews is honestly, I don't really know why fans would want to hear from me. I think they want to hear from the players.
Well, you're more like Mark Cuban. You could be like Mark Cuban.
Is that really the best? That's the best analogy.
Oh, I like Mark Cuban. I think he's cool. You don't like him?
No, I think he's. The point being, I think that people want to hear from the players. I think they want to hear from coaches. I think they want to hear from people who are like immediately involved in wins and losses. And it's not that I don't, take partial credit or feel involved. Obviously I do. But, I don't think that people want to hear about the stuff that I do on an hour-to-hour basis. I think that the players do stuff that's a lot cooler.
What do you do?
I talk to a lot of people. It's interesting. I grew up reading a lot of Dilbert cartoons, so I'm wired to hate bosses and managers and executives. So that's constantly running in the back of my mind as I'm doing all the stuff that I do that I know is not easy to do, but none of the individual things that I do is particularly glamorous.
You pitch sponsors, you sign players, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I do a lot of recruiting. I obviously work a lot with our sponsors and make sure they're happy. I think that it's our company's job, and therefore I guess my job to lead it, to make it easier and ideally easy for players to do what they do. We're a conduit between the talent and whatever lets the talent do what they want to do. And right now that's a lot of sponsors and advertisers, merchandising, that kind of stuff.
What's the biggest misconception about EG and Alliance that you want to clear up right now?
I'm totally not prepared to answer this question, but I think usually I don't do interviews very frequently, so it's kind of my own fault. But usually when I do an interview, or someone sees a picture of me or something, people are usually I thought he was in his 40s. Why is he not wearing a suit? They're kind of disappointed because they built up. Well, I'm not necessarily disappointed. I hope not, but maybe a little surprised because they built up this image in their heads of an older suit kind of guy. So I guess that misconception. I think the misconception that we or I are driven by money is just completely wrong, actually. I think what has always motivated me and has motivated Colin and other people that we work with, Colin is a behind-the-scenes guy, he's our COO, is we've always wanted to have winning teams, and we've always wanted to support players. That's what got me into this in the first place, and that's what primarily motivates me to keep doing what I'm doing. So I think that's probably the biggest misconception.
You have a yacht or anything like that? Anything fancy?
No, that's the other Alex.
Oh yeah.
A couple booths over. He has a yacht and really.
The Navi guy?
Yeah. I think he has a yacht.
Oh wow. Do you guys go together on the yacht?
Absolutely not.
Are those okay? I have to ask this because even I don't know. are those Arteezy chat logs real?
Is this like, this is the scene that you cut because I retort with, you would know because you wrote that.
What are you talking about? Those we hacked someone's email to get those logs. Are they real?
The thing is, like, I'm not going to comment on it because I think that part of the magic of the story is nobody is ever going to know, because they could be real, but they also could be faked, or they could be somewhere in the middle. And ultimately, that website,
they're real. Come on.
That website that you totally, absolutely do not run and have nothing to do with is ultimately, I think, the only entity that really knows the truth.
What's it like managing someone like Artur?
Well,
you don't personally manage him, obviously, but you interact with him.
I do. I think, like, there's like a serious answer to this question, and then there's like a lighthearted answer to the question.
Give me the lighthearted answer.
It's very entertaining.
Okay.
And very stressful sometimes.
Give me an Arteezy story that people haven't heard.
I don't know.
You don't want to tell it?
No, I'm trying to think of one. You're gonna have to cut this part, 'cause I'm just gonna be like looking around.
I'm not cutting anything. This is straight up, just going up. We can come back to it. I can ask you later in 4.5 minutes.
I have one in mind, but I don't think it's.
Give me a. Come on. You can't say that and then not tell it.
I don't think it's that good. I feel like there's a better Arteezy story, because we've hung out like in person some, but not nearly as much as we've interacted online. And I don't think like a story of a Skype log is a good story. Nobody would run that.
Okay.
So.
And which team do you like better, if you had to pick one right now?
Stop.
Come on, you gotta answer.
Stop.
If you had to, they were fighting to the death.
I would kill myself.
Oh my God, you're just pick one. Just pick one.
Nope.
Okay. But since Alliance won last year, if a team had to win this year, it had to be EG, right?
Stop.
All right. Who's your favorite player though? Who's your favorite player to manage? Just like who's the most fun? That's a fun question, right? Come on.
You're like, the persistence that you're exhibiting right now is exactly what got me to do this interview over the course of like a year and a half. But I can't.
Okay. All right. And you also have two LCS teams, right?
Technically, I have 0 LCS teams.
Oh, right. Okay. 0 in quotes.
No, it's not 0 in quotes. I mean, we have like a very strict. Why are you smirking? You're laughing, which is making me laugh, which is making this seem like I'm like trying to cover something up when I'm not. So we have a very strict thing with Riot. For this season, we are allowed to have the EG brand on a team and the Alliance brand on a team. But those teams are independently owned, they're independently operated, and it's been pretty challenging for me because we're allowed to put brands on them. We're allowed to obviously put sponsors on those brands, so the players, get paid well and stuff like that. But in terms of anything like related to competition, roster changes and that kind of stuff, I have to toe a very specific line. Otherwise, I will get into a lot of trouble with Dustin, Nick, and Chris, and they watch that pretty closely. So we are like on an operations level, on a business level, yeah. But on like a sports team level, I don't really know like, my game expertise at this point. Like I don't claim to be something that I'm not, which is again why, like, aside from like industry panels and esports congresses and stuff, I generally like
avoid stuff like that.
Sort of avoid interviews like this, yeah, because I don't think that they're really needed.
Well, let's stop the esports questions. What do you like outside of it? Do you have any free time?
Generally, not really.
Do you follow real sports then?
I do.
Which ones?
Whenever I can. I'm watching the World Cup.
Oh yeah, me too.
I grew up. Are you gonna ask me what team I'm rooting for?
Of course, you're rooting for the United States.
Of course. Yeah.
Come on.
Of course. But I grew up in Philly, which is a pretty big sports town. So I followed all the sports teams there. Hockey is was probably my favorite growing up. Like I was a big fan of the Flyers. But yeah, like I generally follow all
NFL, NBA.
Yeah, all of them.
Chip Kelly.
I don't know who that is.
The coach of the Eagles.
That's right. Yeah.
So maybe not the NFL as much.
Maybe not as closely. I actually did know that. I do watch the Eagles whenever I can.
They got rid of their best wide receiver for gang signs.
Yeah, I think it was a good decision.
Yeah.
Actually, it's really interesting, to be honest with you. Like the way that I view real sports as a spectator after having done this for, I don't know, like somewhere between 8 and 10 years. Like, I'm sure that there are a lot of differences. I'm sure that managing pro gamers is not the exact same thing as managing professional athletes, but at the same time, I think there are a lot of similarities, and I completely agree with that decision. Having had my fair share of difficult players in the team, and having endured multiple contracts with them, I have things that I've learned from those. And I actually really respect the way the Eagles run their organization.
Worst EG contract ever. Go. 3, 2, 1. No?
This is exactly why people will not watch any more interviews with me, because all the interesting questions I can't give you answers to.
Okay, just blink twice if it's
Blink twice if it rhymes with.
Yeah. Okay, I won't ask. Are you very surprised at how good EG's doing? They're doing amazing. And it's mostly with 2 or 3 unknown players. What's up? What was the process with that like?
I'm not surprised, but I won't say that I expected this level of success when we put the roster together. I think, in addition to the players, I think Clinton and Charlie deserve a ton of credit. Obviously, the 5 guys who are on the active roster deserve a ton of credit too, but Charlie is really amazing at what he does. I think that even going into December, we knew we had a good core. And it's never easy to make the decision to cut a couple players. It's never. Players are looking at me. It's never easy to make that decision. We really felt like we had to do it because we didn't feel like that team was necessarily a bad team. We just didn't. We looked at what we had in December and we said, do we really think this team can win the international? And we didn't think it could. So we started looking around. Artur was obviously a really important pickup, and I spent a lot of time talking to him personally because that's before Charlie agreed to coach the team. So, I do make comments about like what involvement I do and don't have in our different teams, and that kind of varies based on the game and the team and the time period. But I think one of the things that I really do enjoy, and I can actually add value in, is recruiting, is getting players on the same page, because a roster that looks great on paper doesn't always play out. The roster that a couple really experienced players think is going to play out really well doesn't always play out, and they can actually, I think, use some insight from somebody who's a little bit older, more experienced, good at reading people and seeing how, or guessing or estimating how a player will work out in the long run because of their work ethic or personality or something like that. So I do feel like I contributed in some part to the lineup being together. I think most of the credit goes to the players and Charlie, though. And yeah, it's definitely exceeded expectations. I'm really happy with it.
Clinton, had the arm problem, and it's like, just really saddening that he's not able to, compete.
Yeah.
Was that process very smooth, or was there any friction, like, like I want to play, but, any kind of conflict, or is it just like he just realized that he was not going to be able to boot camp and stuff like that, and it was just easy?
I think the most challenging part of it was the timing. I don't really know how much I can or should go into the details of our chats with Valve, but I think that Valve is a company that really encourages openness and transparency as one of their principles. It's something I really respect about them. And so, from the moment that we even thought or heard we had a TI invite, because like you sort of start to hear stuff and you can kind of guess based on how the team was doing. I mean,
yeah, you're a lock for TI once you win a tournament like the way EG won a few.
We thought pretty confidently that we might get an invite. We immediately reached out. We were like, hey, this is an issue. We don't really know what's going to happen with it. And I think one of the things that is the most frustrating, both for Clinton and for all of us about the injury, is that like it's so what's the word? Undefined. Like he has, something like tennis elbow, but it's in his forearm, and this is not something that is an everyday injury. So, we go to different doctors and physical therapists and stuff, and they recommend treatment and they recommend rehabilitation practices, but there's no useful precedent for this. So that's what made it hard. because there's no finite, you're going to be better in 2 weeks. And then we thought he was getting better. This is, way back in quarter 1 of the year. We thought he was getting better, and he had a relapse. We obviously ended up coming to an agreement to have him coach the team full time. I thought that it was the right thing to do for multiple reasons. I have so much respect for Clinton and all the time he has put into this game. Really, really for the love of it and for the competition. And if anybody deserves to win the international, it's him. So I think the fact that he's part of what we're doing, I think that what his impact on the team at the summit was evident. I think the fact that he's an active, crucial contributor, and the fact that he's getting a substantial portion of the prize money, I think he deserves both of those despite being injured.
Okay, it's a very well articulated answer. I think everyone kind of commiserates with him. They watched the movie. It's very moving. They're kind of rooting for Fear, and it's just it's just such a terrible situation. So, what do you think is going to happen going forward? Is he going to be able to play next year? What's going on with his injury?
I think nothing is decided at this point. I think that again the diagnoses from the doctors is kind of vague, but it's kind of you should be able to play by quarter 3. This should be an unpredictable on a month-to-month level, but overall predictable recovery. And so I guess what exactly goes on with the roster will depend on how the team performs and how the players feel and how Charlie feels. I probably won't be the one making the final call on that, but I hope he keeps playing.
What do you do if one of your teams wins TI? What's the celebration? Do you throw a party for them or what?
Honestly, it's I think from the outside, somebody just won.
Yeah, they won't pick up anything because the mic's really good. So,
I guess you could just cut that, or this is awkward now.
No, I leave everything in.
What was the question?
What are you going to throw a party? What's the celebration if you guys win?
I think that from the outside, people look at me. They're like, "Oh, he owns 2 Dota teams. He has 2 teams in TI. That must be awesome. You have twice the chance of winning, and could conceivably get first and second or something, which would be really crazy. But it's actually it is more awkward for me than people think. It's a really strange feeling when EG plays Alliance anytime, because I really like I said at the beginning of this, I am driven to do this by the relationships I form with players, the fact that my support of them and my involvement in what they do gives me ownership over wins and losses. I take losing way harder than I enjoy winning, and in general, it's a very awkward feeling because. So, for example, if either team wins TI, I will probably be thinking more about the team that didn't win it than the team that does win it.
Oh, you're so nice.
Yeah, when I explain,
give them a hug.
When I explain things like this, I get a lot of tongue-in-cheek comments like that, but it's actually totally true. So it's a very strange thing. But I don't know, go to Vegas or something.
Go to Vegas. Okay.
I wanted Alliance to go to Vegas last year, fly to Vegas, but. Too practical for that, I suppose.
Their RNG is probably pretty good. So do you have? We're almost done. You got any shout outs and call outs you wanna make?
Just
shout outs first.
Thanks to all the people who support what we and I do, our sponsors, the folks back in San Francisco, and of course all the players.
And call outs. Give me a call out.
What's the difference between a shout out and a call out?
Well, a call out's the opposite of a shout out. You're calling out someone because you want to call them out.
Can I call you out for making me do this fucking interview?
Yeah, you can. Damn, no one's ever called me out in one of these before, but okay, that's good enough. Thank you very much for doing this. I know it's not taking time out of your busy schedule. Thanks, and good luck at TI. I don't think you're going to need it though with those 2 teams. So.
Thank you.